The Springboks team announcement for the second test against the All Blacks has created plenty of talking points, with Rassie Erasmus making several important changes after the opening match. While much of the starting 15 remains intact, the biggest changes come through the replacements, where Erasmus has reshaped his famous bomb squad. One of the biggest winners is Pieter-Steph du Toit, who is set to reach 100 test caps for South Africa. It is a remarkable milestone for a player whose career has been defined by resilience. Du Toit made his Springbok debut in 2013 under Hanekom, initially as a lock who could also operate in the back row. His early international career was interrupted by injuries, but he eventually developed into one of the world's outstanding blindside flankers. His journey has included enormous adversity. He has dealt with multiple serious injuries, including ankle problems, a cracked sternum and 2 ACL injuries. One of his most frightening setbacks came in 2020 when a serious leg injury developed into acute compartment syndrome and threatened his career. Yet Du Toit returned stronger. He went on to become a 2-time World Cup winner, a 2-time World Rugby Player of the Year and one of the most respected forwards in international rugby. Reaching 100 caps in Cape Town against the All Blacks makes the occasion even more special. Few players could have written a more remarkable career story. Another major winner is Deon Fourie, who is preparing to become the oldest Springbok to play in a test at 39 years of age. Fourie's international career is extraordinary because he was already an established veteran when he finally made his Springbok debut. He became the oldest Springbok debutant when he appeared against Wales in 2022 and later played an important role in South Africa's 2023 World Cup triumph. His career has also been interrupted by serious injuries, including an ACL problem, ankle trouble, a bicep injury and ligament damage. But Fourie repeatedly returned. Now he has another opportunity against New Zealand. His experience, physicality and versatility make him a valuable option for Erasmus, particularly in a match where composure could become extremely important in the final stages. Sacha Feinberg-Mngomezulu is another winner, even though he has moved from the starting lineup to the bench. The young playmaker has endured a difficult return from injury and has not produced his best rugby in recent matches, but Erasmus clearly continues to trust his ability. His versatility is especially valuable. Feinberg-Mngomezulu can cover fly half, center and fullback, giving South Africa greater flexibility with their replacements. Instead of seeing his move to the bench as a major setback, he can view it as another opportunity. Entering the match against a tiring All Blacks defense could give him the space to make an impact and show why the coaching staff remain confident in his future. Then there is Handre Pollard, who returns to the starting fly-half position. Pollard has built his reputation on performing when the pressure is highest. His 2 Rugby World Cup victories and his ability to manage difficult test matches have made him one of South Africa's most trusted players. Following the first test defeat, Erasmus has once again turned to Pollard to control the game. His tactical kicking, goal kicking, defensive organization and experience could be crucial if the second test becomes another tight contest. Perhaps the biggest story of the selection, however, is the overhaul of the bomb squad. South Africa have become famous for using their replacements to increase the physical intensity of a match. But the first test raised questions about how effectively that strategy worked when the game entered its final stages. Erasmus has responded by making several changes. Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Zachary Porthen, Kobus Wies, Mane Libbok and Marco van Staden have been left out, while Deon Fourie, Thomas du Toit, Lood de Jager, Cameron Hanekom, Morne van den Berg and Sacha Feinberg-Mngomezulu come into the replacement group. Only Gerhard Steenkamp and Andre Esterhuizen remain from the previous bomb squad. On paper, the new bench appears more experienced and balanced. Erasmus has clearly decided that the Springboks need greater control and greater impact during the closing stages. Lood de Jager brings significant test experience, while Deon Fourie adds versatility and composure. Cameron Hanekom gives the Springboks another powerful option at the breakdown, while Morne van den Berg can bring speed and energy that Hanekom's inclusion is particularly interesting. The young Bulls forward has impressed at the highest level and is viewed as a player with a potentially significant future for South Africa. A chance to face the All Blacks would provide another major test of his ability. There is also another milestone to celebrate through Ox Nche, who is set to reach 50 test caps. Nche has developed into one of the most important loosehead props in the Springbok system. His scrummaging ability has made him a key weapon, while his work around the field has shown how the modern prop has evolved. He also made history by becoming the first prop nominated for World Rugby Player of the Year, underlining just how highly his performances have been regarded. But while there are several winners, there are also clear losers from the selection. Grant Williams and Cheslin Kolbe are the most obvious examples. Both players have reportedly suffered niggles that have ruled them out of the second test. Kolbe would almost certainly have remained an important part of the starting side if fit. His attacking ability, defensive work and goal kicking have made him increasingly valuable to the Springboks. Williams is also a significant absence. Erasmus has regularly relied on him and Kobus Renock as his preferred scrum-half combination, and Williams' speed gives South Africa another attacking dimension. Their injuries therefore represent a major setback, although they have created opportunities for Ethan Hooker and Morne van den Berg. Another pair left disappointed will be Zachary Poorthen and Jan Hendrik Wessels. Both young front rowers have been removed from the matchday squad as Erasmus turns to more experienced options. Their exclusion should not be viewed as a judgment on their long-term potential. International front row rugby is extremely demanding, and young props often need time to develop the consistency required at the highest level. The changes are more about the immediate requirements of the test than their futures. Kobus Wies is another player who will be frustrated. After performing strongly during the July Nations Championship matches, he earned the opportunity to face New Zealand but was only introduced during the final stages. That gave him very little time to influence the match. Erasmus has now recalled Lood de Jager, whose greater international experience gives him an advantage in a high-pressure test. Then there is Manje Libbok, who may feel particularly unfortunate. Libbok entered the first test at a difficult moment. South Africa were already behind on the scoreboard, the back line had been reshuffled because of injuries and the team was struggling to regain control. The situation became even more complicated when Marco van Staden and Kobus Renock were yellow-carded. Libbok was therefore asked to help create a comeback in extremely challenging circumstances. While his performance will naturally be analyzed, the context cannot be ignored. His omission from the second test squad nevertheless shows just how competitive the Springbok selection process has become. For Erasmus, the central issue is not necessarily that his starting team was completely wrong. Instead, the concern appears to be how effectively the team handled the final stages. That explains why so much attention has been placed on the new bomb squad. The Springboks need their replacements to do more than simply maintain the level of the starting players. They need them to change the match. When the opposition is tiring, South Africa want fresh forwards capable of winning collisions, creating pressure at the breakdown and improving their scrum and maul. They also need backs who can maintain tactical discipline while adding speed and attacking variety. The new bench appears designed around those requirements. The second test will therefore be an important examination of Erasmus' tactical thinking. He has resisted the temptation to completely rebuild his starting 15. Instead, he has kept much of the core team together while making significant adjustments around the bench. That suggests he believes the Springboks were capable of competing successfully in the first test but failed to maintain their standards when the match entered its decisive period. Against New Zealand, that cannot happen again. The All Blacks are capable of punishing small mistakes, and South Africa will need to be disciplined, accurate, and patient. For Handre Pollard, the responsibility will be to control territory and scoreboard pressure. For Pieter-Steph du Toit, the occasion will be about reaching one of the greatest milestones in international rugby. For Deon Fourie, it will be another chapter in a career built on refusing to give up. For Ox Nche, it will be a celebration of 50 test appearances and years of consistency. For Sacha Feinberg-Mngomezulu, it will be another opportunity to prove his value. And for Rassie Erasmus, it will be a test of whether the revised selection can produce the response South Africa need. The players left out will have their own motivation. Manje Libbok, Kobus Wies, Zachary Porthen, Jan Hendrik Wessels and Marco van Staden will know that another opportunity will come, but they will also understand that competition for places is intense. Meanwhile, the injuries to Cheslin, Kolbe and Grant Williams show how quickly circumstances can change in international rugby. One player's disappointment can become another player's opportunity. That is why depth matters so much. The Springboks cannot rely on the same 23 players throughout an entire season. Injuries, fatigue and tactical changes are part of elite rugby, and the strongest teams are those capable of maintaining their identity despite those challenges. South Africa now have to prove that their depth is good enough to handle the absence of two important players. The second test also carries enormous significance because of the rivalry itself. Whenever the Springboks face the All Blacks, history and expectation are present. Every mistake is analyzed, every tactical decision is debated and every selection becomes part of the wider story. This time, there is an additional layer of emotion because of the milestones. Du Toit reaching 100 caps at home is a celebration of one of the greatest careers in South African rugby. Fourie becoming the oldest Springbok Test player is a celebration of resilience. Nche reaching 50 caps is a celebration of consistency. But once the match begins, those milestones will disappear into the background. The players will have one job: perform. South Africa will need to learn from the opening test, manage the match more effectively and ensure that their replacements have the impact Erasmus expects. The new bomb squad has been selected. The experienced leaders are back. The young players are ready for their opportunities. The injured stars will have to recover and wait for their next chance. And the players who have been dropped will be determined to respond. Ultimately, the winners and losers of the team announcement will only be confirmed by what happens on the field. If the revised bench dominates the final quarter, Erasmus' decisions will look inspired. If South Africa struggle again late in the game, questions will return. For now, though, the Springboks have made their choices. The pressure is on. The rivalry is ready for another chapter. And with Pieter-Steph du Toit, Deon Fourie, Ox Nche and Handre Pollard all bringing different forms of experience to the occasion, South Africa will be hoping that resilience, tactical intelligence and a refreshed bomb squad can help them deliver the response they need against the All Blacks.